This whole idea for this video started when I was playing a game with some friends. The game is called Horse Race, and it goes something like this. You'll start the game with a board that looks like this. You'll also need a deck of cards, poker chips, and 2 dice. The game starts by dealing out the cards one at a time to each player. Some players might have more cards than others. To start, you will remove your kings and aces, since those cannot be rolled with 2 dice. You'll also have to pay a chip for each card that you have to discard. Next, you'll go around the table rolling the dice, eliminating 4 horses before the game starts. If you have the card that corresponds to the horse that is eliminated, you will remove that card, put it in the discard pile, and then pay a chip per card that you have. After the dice is rolled 4 times and 4 horses are eliminated, the game begins. The dice is rolled, and if the dice corresponds with a horse on the board, that horse moves up. If the horse is not on the board anymore, then you pay into the pot. This continues until one horse finishes. If you have the card that corresponds with the finishing horse, you win a quarter of the pot per card you have. So for this example, I have 2 9s, and I would win half the pot if 9 wins. Now, in this video, I want to address 2 problems. They're not the end of the world, I just think it would make the game a lot more fun. Number 1, there's no spot to put the cards on the board. And number 2, you usually have to choose some sort of bowl or something to hold all of the chips that are in the pot. I want these both to be built into the board, and you'll see how I do that in this video. Now, this isn't the most comprehensive explanation of the game, but I think it'll do. For this project, I have 4 goals that'll hopefully test my skills. Number 1, I want a routed recess. Number 2, gotta have something 3D printed. Number 3, I gotta be able to store it easy. And number 4, I want those recesses felt lined. First, I need wood. Now, the first store I went to is a nice hardwood place, and they got really good selections. And I decided to go for this big poplar board, but when I asked the dude how much it was, I was expecting like $70 or $80. It was $110. So that wasn't going to fly. So I went to a Home Depot and I got 2 boards for $24, and that's what I was going to use. But you'll find out later, I don't actually end up using. So how I'm avoiding using a $110 board is I got these 2 panels and I'm going to glue them together. The reason the other board was so expensive was because it was thick, and I needed that thickness in order to add my recesses, because you're going to have recesses on one side and drilled holes on the other, and so it needed a good deal of thickness. However, you'll find out this gluing method comes to bite me in the butt in the future. And I also didn't have the proper clamps to do this, so I ended up using weights, which was also not a great idea. Now here's the problem I was talking about. Because I didn't have proper clamps, I glued it together improperly and I had this big crack. But that's okay. I'm going to find some other solution. Here I'm going to look for wood, and you'll see another mistake I make.
Wait a minute!
Hello there.
I don't know if it's white. So I was unsure of that piece, so I tried my hand again to go up and get that live edge piece of wood, but I end up getting stuck on the garage door opener cable, and I'm straddling it. So if I fall, I'm gonna rip the whole thing off. My parents are gonna be mad. But just watch, it's hilarious. Uh-oh. That was scary. Hopefully that's the last of my problems for this video. Here I'm going ahead and using the board that I found earlier. I guess I didn't even need to go up in the attic. But I'm just going to trim it up and make it look nice. And then I'm going to put a round over it with my router. And they're all done. I'm honestly glad I went with these instead of the ones I picked up from Home Depot. They just look a lot better. Now I'm using my laser to mark out the grid pattern as well as the holes that I will drill out later. I also want to draw your attention to the fact that I forgot to put center holes in this, and it's going to come to bite me in the butt later. So I was very worried about these holes. I thought that the horse that goes in them was going to be this little base here. It was going to be too wide, but luckily they're just right. So now we have to drill the holes for them, and I'll get out my drill press. Still thoughts under control. Compose discipline soul. There's something in the way I think, like pressure locked and sank. I don't rush into reaction. I let silence shape the action. Some power doesn't explode. It calculates the code. We don't argue with the noise. We don't flex with empty poise. We just hold the inner line. Let precision redefine. When the mind locks, I see clearer. Oh, when the mind locks, nothing nearer. When the mind locks, I don't stop. Oh, when the mind locks, I outlast all. No panic in my chest, just structure under stress. Every second. So now what I'm going to do is I got one of these horses, and I'm going to take a photo of it, throw it into my laser engraving program, and I'm going to cut out some EV foam with the cutout, and we'll recess that foam into the wood, and hopefully it'll hold these nice and snug. So I got a test piece cut out, and this is really stinking cool. it fits perfectly. Look at that. That's beautiful. Now imagine all of them. That'll be sweet. I can only imagine. I want to take some time to explain what I'm doing here. I have two pieces and I'm routing out one of the pieces to put that foam inside with the horses, so that way they will fold up on a hinge and they will be stored inside. And so I did this off camera. I routed out this entire area. You'll see me do a different piece later, but I just wanted to get that out of the way.
So it didn't exactly go how I wanted. I got the basic shape done. I'm thinking I might 3D print a short little kerf that'll kind of cover up all the mistakes. But I got the foam here and I got it laid out on my computer. So we're gonna cut that out and then hopefully it'll fit in there.
So like I was saying, here we have an issue where you can kind of see this rough edge. So I'm gonna work here, model up a little 3D printed frame that'll be very thin, but it should cover up all of this. So the first design of the peg holes, they were sort of off because they didn't have center holes, and so I went in and I put in a bunch of center holes, so it'll engrave center holes as well, and hopefully it'll make it a lot better. You may notice that this design looks a lot different, and that's because it is. The first design I showed you is the racing portion of the board. This part is what holds all of the horses that get knocked out at the beginning of the round. So now I'm going ahead, putting it in my laser and letting it do all the work to mark all the lines out for me, and then all I have to do is just drill and route out the channels. So now I'm going to go ahead, use the Dremel, route out these channels, and hopefully I don't mess it up. Put it on here, route out a dish for that, and then later I'm gonna add some nice velvet to it, hopefully. But if I mess this up, I'm kind of screwed. So I gotta get this right. And the first one didn't go great. I wasn't very happy with this, but I did do some sketchy stuff for this one that I don't really need to do, and I don't know why I did it for that one. But we'll get working on this. Okay, I have it all set up. Hopefully these clamps will hold. A little worried about it, but we're just going to send it.
You guys silly? I'm still gonna send it.
Here, I almost mess up the entire project. Just wait. Luckily, the project was fine. Sadly, here I was not so lucky and ended up making a mistake. If you watch very closely, the jig I'm using is moving around, and I end up going outside of the jig and messing it up. Shoot! I drove it into the jig. Gosh dang it. I knew I should have gone lower. Okay, maybe. Yeah, that's pretty close. Okay, so we're gonna move this over to here, I think. Okay, so got this routed out. There's a couple of nicks, but it does look better than the other thing I did. So I'm hopefully sanding will do it. Plus I'm covering it up, so I'm thinking it should be good.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Okay, I need to address two issues now. Number one, this is not fully flat. I haven't fully come up with a solution yet, but just wait and I'll show you what I might have in store for that. This part is not perfectly square either and kind of looks awful. And I really don't like how these holes to the finish line are right here. And I thought I couldn't fix it because the finish line is right here, so there's not really much room to put anything else. However, I'm going to make a rim that goes around this, and I think I'll just cover these holes and make holes here instead, so it's sort of like you're winning the pot at the finish line. This will hold poker chips. I don't know if I've explained that yet, but also I haven't been able to show you video of me creating these things because I've been using a laptop, but I finally got a PC, so I'm gonna be able to show you a time lapse of me creating that. Before the other things I wasn't able to, so hopefully that'll work. Alright, it's all done. I'll get that taken off and we'll test fit it. So I got it in place. I had to use a little X-Acto knife to take off a couple little shavings so it fit. But it is a little wobbly. Once I glue that, it won't be an issue. But I think it turned out pretty good and I really like how it looks. Now I'm spending some time getting the surface ready for a finish. I'm gonna use an oil. I don't really want to use a polyurethane because I'm worried about it filling the holes and then I'd have to re-drill them and it just would be a whole mess. So we're just going to play it safe and use some oil. Here I'm using a paintbrush to make sure I get all the oil inside all of the holes. I really like the way that the oil looks on this wood. I was kind of worried about it, but I'm super happy with the results. Now this is where everything finally starts to come together. I'm putting this small piece of foam in here so that way when you take the horses out you don't see the wood underneath. Also, I haven't shown you yet, but here is the final piece with all of the horses in it. I think it looks sweet. I also went ahead and 3D printed this little horse race sign just to cover up a couple imperfections and to make it look nice. And here is also the trim that goes around the entire piece to cover up my other mistakes. To glue these pieces, I'm just using a little bit of super glue and some clamps or weights or whatever else I have lying around, and that seemed to work pretty well. I'm really excited for this part. I got this adhesive velvet that I'm going to put on the inside, and I think it's going to look sweet, especially with the 3D printed trim that's going to go around it. It'll just make the difference. This spot here holds all of the chips, and so it'll look very professional. Now I'm once again super gluing that trim on, and man, does that look sweet. Also take some time to look at those channels that I routed out with my Dremel. And also you'll notice this little number line I made so that way you can tell the channels apart from each other when you're playing the game. Now this piece here goes on the other side. It was to cover up some other imperfections. That's kind of a theme I have running here for this video. But it's going to hold all of the discards that you play in the game, and it'll also act as the start line. Just take a moment to look at how cool these pieces are. I haven't shown you the other side that I talked about that has the start line and the stalls, but I will show you that at the end. You'll have to wait. Right now, I am putting the hardware on, so that way I can store the horses inside. And I chose these brass hinges because I just think they complement the red very nicely, and they just look very classy. I stretch my hand on my cup just 'cause You probably thought I was going to show you the final reveal.
What? No, dude!
In my regular fashion, I would like to take this time to ask you for a favor. Would you please subscribe, like, and share this with somebody who you think would enjoy my content?
Please whatever. Please I want to reach 1 million likes.
My goal is to give glory to God with the gifts He has given me, and I can only do that with your support. Without further delay, the final reveal.
Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it!
I'm very happy with how this turned out. It was a great test of my skills, and I'm glad that I learned something new in this. Horse Race is a great game, and I recommend it to anyone. If you like this video, again, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned, because I have some other projects that I'm planning to do in the future.